On their 7-year anniversary, her husband, Marcus, returned home with his pregnant assistant, Brittany. Brittany is pregnant, and she has specific cravings, he announced. From now on, you'll need to put more thought into cooking. No repeating meals. Grace quietly collected the dinnerware, offering no response. Oh, and, he added, she can't sleep well at night and needs company. I've had the house staff move your belongings to the guest. Grace set down the plates she was holding and looked up at him. No need to trouble yourselves. She turned and walked towards the foyer, picking up the suitcase she had already prepared. As she pulled open the door, the lights of the Bentley outside were already on. Without looking back, she said, this time, I'm truly leaving. Grace had just reached the foyer with her suitcase when she heard footsteps behind her. Wait. Marcus's voice made her freeze. Ms. Brittany needs that emerald from your wrist. Alfred approached her, his tone calm but unyielding. She said it's a blessed that will protect her and the baby. Grace lowered her gaze to the emerald on her wrist, gleaming with a soft luster. This was her last keepsake, given by her mother, who had clutched Grace's hand on her deathbed and said, Grace, this bracelet protected me for 20 years. Now, it will protect you. Mr. Marcus said that if you're unwilling, he can compensate you at 3 times the market value, Alfred added, seeing her silence. In the living room, Brittany was leaning on the sofa, gently caressing her slightly swollen abdomen. Marcus stood beside her, his gaze coldly fixed on Grace. 3 times the market value? What about my 7 years of devotion? How much is that worth? Grace asked softly. Grace, don't push your luck, Marcus frowned. She remembered the humiliation a month ago at the marina yacht. Because she hadn't immediately given her life to Brittany, who had suddenly appeared, Marcus had pushed her into the in front of all the G.U.S. He left her struggling in the cold water for 10 minutes before allowing anyone to rescue her. Grace slowly unfastened the bracelet and walked towards Brittany. Here. May it protect you and your child. She held out the bracelet. A flicker of surprise crossed Marcus's face, then he nodded. Looks like you're not completely clueless yet. Remember, as long as you know your place, this family won't treat you unfairly. Brittany reached out and took the bracelet, but as she put it on, she let out a shriek. The bracelet slipped and shattered into several pieces on the marble. A fragment bounced up, scratching her ankle. Ah! It hurts so much. She clutched her ankle, tears instantly welling up. Marcus immediately scooped her into his arms. Damn it. Alfred, call Dr. Michael at once. Grace stood frozen, watching the farce unfold, a mix of emotions swirling within her. Last night, she had suffered an asthma attack, collapsing in the bedroom, struggling to breathe, almost suffocating. Marcus and Brittany had walked past her. He had only said coldly, don't lie in the hallway, it looks bad. Then they went to the balcony to look at the stars, leaving Alfred to find her medication. Move her to the guest. Disinfect this area tomorrow. We don't want Ms. Brittany to smell the medicine, Marcus instructed before leaving. Her memories were interrupted by Marcus's furious roar. What are you standing there for? Aren't you going to apologize? Why should I apologize? She asked, bewildered. The next second, her arm was violently yanked by him, and she was dragged in front of Brittany. He forcefully pressed down on her shoulders, forcing her to kneel. Her knees landed heavily on the emerald fragments, the sharp pain making her gasp. You deliberately dropped the bracelet to hurt Brittany, and now you're playing innocent, he gritted out. For 7 years, I'm sorry had become her mantra. If the food wasn't to his liking, she'd say sorry. If she worried about him not returning late at night and messaged him, she'd say sorry. If she accidentally saw intimate photos of him and Brittany, she'd say sorry. Grace endured the pain in her knees and bowed deeply to Brittany. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I'm sorry, I hope you're okay. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Then she looked up at Marcus. I've apologized. Can I leave now? He stared at her pale face, strained with pain, a flicker of something unreadable in his eyes. Grandpa isn't here. Who are you putting on this pathetic act for? It's disgusting. Just then, the doorbell rang. Dr. Michael had arrived. Marcus immediately turned to open the door, and everyone's attention shifted to Brittany. Grace seized the opportunity, dragging her injured leg and hurrying towards the main door. 2 honks echoed from the courtyard, the Bentley she had arranged. She quickened her pace, hope igniting in her heart. However, just as she was about to push open the iron gate, 2 security suddenly rushed out from the security. They grabbed her arms, 1 on each side, and dragged her back to the without a word. 2 blood type matched. We can begin. The doctor's voice drifted from outside the door. Grace was tied to a chair in Marcus's study, the needle in her arm feeling like a sharp sword. Mr. Marcus, I must remind you again, the doctor said, lowering his voice. Although both Ms. Grace and Ms. Brittany have the Rh-negative blood, Ms. Grace's history of asthma makes this donation extremely high risk. We should go to a proper hospital. Enough, Marcus coldly interrupted him. Brittany needs blood. Just draw it. No need for further discussion. Blood slowly flowed into the bag, and Grace's vision gradually blurred. Marcus walked over to her, his voice uncharacteristically soft. Just a little longer. She closed her eyes, unwilling to see his feigned concern. Suddenly, a groan came from Brittany's room next door. Doctor, what's wrong with her? Marcus immediately tensed. It might be worsening. Anemia, the doctor hesitated, looking at the blood bag, already more than half full. Mr. Marcus, Ms. Grace has already. Continue, Marcus commanded without hesitation. Brittany and the child need it more. Grace's pale lips trembled slightly. Go ahead and draw. Just let me go when you're done. Marcus narrowed his eyes, as if about to say something. Marcus! Brittany's call interrupted his thoughts. He immediately turned and left, not looking at Grace again. 3 days later, Grace woke up in the Prestige Center's VIP suite. On the couch by the window, Marcus was handling documents. The sunlight outlined his sharply defined profile. They gazed at each other in silence. He put down the documents and walked to her bedside. Are you hungry? His tone was calm, as if nothing had happened in the past few days. I can eat by myself. Grace took the bowl of porridge he offered and sipped it slowly. He stood by, his gaze complex. How do you feel? She didn't answer, simply setting down the bowl. Where's my phone? Her tone was distant. Marcus frowned slightly, took out his phone, and instructed Alfred to bring Grace's. Seeing over a dozen missed calls on the screen, his expression grew wary. Who's trying to reach you so urgently? This kind of interrogation was unprecedented in their marriage. A friend, she replied curtly. Marcus unbuttoned his suit button, looking down at her. Grace, how long are you going to keep this up? I've been very tolerant of you. Don't push your luck. In the past, she would have immediately apologized. Now, she simply pointed to his vibrating phone in his pocket. Brittany is looking for you. Hearing that name, his eyes immediately softened. He walked to the hallway to take the call, his back a picture of hurried urgency. As soon as he left, Grace's phone lit up. Plans have changed. I'm already in the country. The voice on the other end of the call carried concern. Are you okay? Why are you hospitalized? Just a minor issue. Nothing to worry about. I'm booking a flight to see you right now. Grace sighed softly. Give me a few more days. I need to take care of some things. When she hung up, the corners of her mouth curled up unconsciously. Marcus returned just then and saw it, his brow furrowed. There's an urgent matter at the company. I'll come back tomorrow. He picked up his briefcase and left without looking back. In the days that followed, he didn't reappear. But social constantly received messages and photos from friends. Marcus was seen with Brittany at various events, introducing her to everyone like a cherished treasure. On the day she was discharged, Grace scrolled through a photo he had posted. In a lavender estate, he and Brittany were embracing under the blue sky, with the caption, "My only love in this life." Grace commented, "Wishing you both happiness and many children soon." Less than 10 minutes later, her phone rang. It was a call from Marcus. She didn't answer. Half an hour later, she encountered them face to face at the women's health entrance. It turned out they were also there for a prenatal checkup. The nurse was warmly saying to Brittany, "Mrs. Marcus, you're so lucky. Your husband accompanies you to every prenatal checkup. He even worries about the ultrasound being too cold for your tummy." The expectant mothers around them cast envious glances. Grace unconsciously touched her own flat abdomen. Memories flooded back. That day, she fell down the stairs, and the child in her womb couldn't be saved. Covered in blood, she made a video call to Marcus. But it was Brittany who answered, breathless and gasping, "Ms. Grace, Marcus isn't available right now, Is there something wrong?" Grace hung up the call. Less than a minute later, Marcus called back. He immediately started scolding her, calling her petty and foolish. In the background, there was the rustling sound of clothes being put on. "You can't even protect your own child. What good are you? Gr. Ace, you might as well just jump from the building." Back in reality, Grace turned to leave, but Marcus called out to her. "What are you doing here?" His tone was filled with surprise. She lowered her head and explained, "I came for a follow-up, and I'm about to be discharged." "Wait," he suddenly called her back. Grace noticed a flicker of displeasure in Brittany's eyes. Ms. Grace is truly wonderful." Brittany linked her arm through Marcus's, her eyes shimmering with feigned gratitude. If it weren't for your blood, I might still be lying in a patient bed. She gently shook Marcus's arm, playing. Marcus, can we invite Miss Grace home with us? I really want to thank her. Marcus dotingly ruffled her hair. You can do whatever you want, darling. Grace had already planned to return to retrieve her belongings, so she nodded in agreement. Inside the Bentley, the air was stifling. She inadvertently glimpsed a hint of blue peeking out from the seat crevice. Brittany followed her gaze and immediately gasped, "Oh, what's that?" Blushing, she pulled a blue petal from the seat crevice. Marcus, didn't you say you'd already cleaned it up? She complained, leaning into Marcus's arms, but her eyes secretly observed Grace's reaction. Marcus chuckled softly, coaxing her, while his gaze constantly swept towards Grace. When he saw that Grace was calmly scrolling on her phone, his brow gradually furrowed. "What are you looking at?" he suddenly asked, his tone unfriendly. "You haven't put your phone down since we got in the car." Grace had just finished booking her flight ticket and immediately locked the screen. "Just browsing the news." Marcus's expression grew even more sullen. He reached out and snatched her phone. "Password. My birthday," Grace replied calmly. After 7 years of marriage, he should have known those 6 digits by heart. However, he entered it incorrectly 3 times, and the phone automatically locked. An awkward silence filled the car until they arrived at. As soon as the car stopped, Marcus hurriedly helped unwell Brittany into the master bedroom. He instructed Alfred to prepare Brittany's favorite dinner, completely forgetting about Grace's presence. As he walked downstairs, he saw Grace's back as she headed towards the guest and hesitated for a moment. "Alfred, add 2 more dishes Ms. Grace usually likes, and prepare for 3 people." Inside the guest, Grace opened her suitcase and found all her clothes shredded. Fortunately, her passport and other documents, hidden in a false bottom, were safe. Just as she collected her important items and prepared to leave, Brittany appeared at the doorway. She held an opaque in her hand, her eyes full of disdain. "Grace, you really can endure a lot." She slowly strolled in. "You've been trampled underfoot, become a laughingstock in the entire upper class, yet you shamelessly refuse to leave. Right, your parents just passed away last month. Without their backing, you naturally have to cling to Marcus like a lifeline." She suddenly remembered something, a cruel smile playing on her lips. "Oh, by the way, do you know why Marcus refused to drive you to the urgent clinic to see your parents one last time? Because that day he promised to take me to a Michelin-starred restaurant to enjoy the night view. Look, this photo on my phone was taken then." Grace could no longer control her rage. She slapped Brittany's phone from her hand and seized her by the throat. The container in Brittany's hand dropped to the floor, and the pungent smell of gasoline instantly permeated the air. In the chaos, someone accidentally touched a lighter, igniting the gasoline on the floor. The fire spread rapidly, and thick smoke filled the room. Grace, having just been discharged from the urgent clinic, immediately suffered an asthma attack. She quickly lost strength and collapsed to the floor. Just then, she heard Marcus's anxious voice. "Grace!" The staff tried to stop him. "Mr. Marcus, it's too dangerous. Please wait until the fire system activates before going in. Get out of the way. Grace is still inside." Marcus rushed into the flames, but when he saw Brittany was also inside, his expression instantly changed. "Marcus, help me." Brittany weakly reached out. Marcus didn't hesitate. He picked her up and rushed out of the fire without looking back. Half an hour later, after settling Brittany, Marcus searched frantically for Grace throughout but found no trace of her. Late at night at the International, the crowd was sparse. Grace mailed a package, then, dragging her exhausted body, boarded a flight to France. Just before the plane was about to take off, she received a text message from Marcus. "Don't be willful. Brittany has a prenatal checkup tomorrow, and you should also go for a lung examination." She didn't reply. Instead, she removed her phone's SIM card and turned it off. Marcus, from now on, they had no more connection. "How is the baby doing?" Marcus stood outside the women's health entrance, greeting Brittany who had just finished her examination. A sweet smile on her face, she gently patted her slightly rounded belly. "The doctor said everything's fine. Yesterday's fire didn't affect him." Marcus clearly breathed a sigh of relief, but the furrow in his brow remained. "You've been distracted all morning." Brittany shrewdly noticed his abnormality. "Are you worried about Grace?" That name was like a key, unlocking Marcus's tightly locked thoughts. He pulled out his phone again. The screen was blank, no reply. Let's get something to eat first," he deflected, carefully helping Brittany towards the elevator. After lunch, Marcus took Brittany home and drove alone to his corporate office. As he stepped into his corporate office, his assistant hurried to meet him. "Mr. Marcus, Grandpa just returned from France and requests all executives to assemble in the conference room immediately." Marcus nodded, casually adjusting his tie. "Oh." And, he suddenly remembered, go pick out a few ladies' gifts at the boutique. "Certainly, should I have them sent to Ms. Brittany?" his assistant asked, accustomed to his routine. Marcus paused, his voice low. "Send them to the miller." He turned and walked towards the conference room, leaving his assistant looking puzzled. 7 days later, late at night, Marcus pushed open his front door, exhausted after dealing with a thorny project. The living room lights were soft, and a familiar figure was curled up on the sofa. "How many times have I told you not to wait for me?" He stopped mid-sentence as he recognized Brittany, not Grace. His expression instantly turned cold. Brittany was startled awake by his gaze and rubbed her eyes. "Marcus, you're finally back." Her voice held a hint of grievance. "Ms. Grace hasn't returned these past few days. I sent her so many messages apologizing, but she hasn't replied to a single one." She bit her lip, asking softly, "Should I move out?" Marcus sighed and sat beside her, mechanically wrapping an arm around her shoulder. "Don't overthink it. Take care of yourself," he said, his tone flat. "This is your and the baby's home, no matter what Grace thinks." After settling Brittany, Marcus stood alone on the balcony and lit a cigarette. He had quit smoking 2 years ago, but tonight, he craved its taste intensely. He opened his phone, his finger lingering on Grace's name for a long time. Ultimately, he didn't make the call. Instead, he sent a short message: "Tomorrow is Grandpa's 75th birthday. Don't cause trouble at the banquet. Brittany is emotionally unstable right now, and it's not good for the baby." After sending the message, he stared at the screen for 5 minutes, receiving no reply. On the day of the birthday, the Marcus was brightly lit. Marcus, with Brittany's arm linked in his, moved through the banquet hall, showcasing their happiness to every guest. It wasn't until Grandpa appeared that he released Brittany and went to the elder's side. "Where's Grace?" The old man looked around, not seeing her. Marcus's expression stiffened for a moment. "She's preparing a special gift. She might be a little late." The old man gave him a meaningful look and said no more. The banquet had been going on for 2 hours, and it was already time for gift giving, but Grace still hadn't appeared. Marcus found an excuse to leave the crowd, hiding in a corner to call's phone. "The number you have dialed is currently unavailable." The cold automated voice made his heart sink. Just then, the banquet hall doors were pushed open, and a delivery person entered. "Is this Mr. Henry's birthday? I have 3 packages here, sender is Ms. Grace." All eyes in the room focused on the 3 exquisitely wrapped packages. Grandpa smiled as he took the first package and carefully unwrapped it. Inside was a beautiful hand-stitched tapestry of a tranquil, every stitch showing meticulous craftsmanship. "This child." The old man's eyes moistened. "She must have put a lot of thought into this." He continued to open the second package, but his smile froze the moment he saw its contents. It was a 7-carat sapphire ring, the family sapphire of the Marcus family, personally given to Grace by Mrs. Henry years ago. A profound silence fell over the banquet hall. Everyone present understood what returning a family heirloom meant. Marcus's face turned ashen. He strode towards the third package. His hands trembled slightly, but he forced himself to remain composed, slowly lifting the lid. The third package was unexpected by everyone. It was large in volume but simple in content: divorce and a medical. Marcus's expression froze. "Divorce?" he mumbled, as if hearing something utterly preposterous. Grandpa picked up the medical, his fingers trembling slightly. As he read further, his face changed from surprise to fury, then finally to deep sorrow. "You beast." The old man suddenly turned, a loud slap landing on Marcus's face. "Do you know what you've done? I never should have agreed to your marriage. You've ruined this child's life." Grandpa was trembling with rage, and several relatives quickly rushed forward to help him, leading him away from the scene. The atmosphere in the banquet hall instantly dropped to freezing point, and guests hurriedly found excuses to leave. Soon, the vast hall was left with only Marcus. He still stood in place, his gaze fixed on the divorce. After a long while, he tore the documents into shreds with an expressionless face, letting the paper scraps scatter onto the carpet. Brittany called out to him softly from the doorway, but she was completely ignored. Marcus walked directly to the parking lot, took his car from the security on duty, started the engine, and drove towards the miller. Night fell, the miller was pitch black and lifeless. He rolled down the window, lit a cigarette, then a second, a third. He stood guard outside the gate all night long until dawn broke, his throat burning from excessive smoking, yet he never saw a single light turn on inside. 5 days later, through private connections, he finally confirmed a fact: Grace had left China and flown to France. Why did she leave? He muttered to himself in the empty corporate office. Such a small matter to lead to divorce? He couldn't accept this reality. In his mind, this was just a common mistake men made, there was no need to make such a fuss. I don't agree to the divorce. I will never agree. He resolved that he would bring her back. After some investigation, he located her residence in Provence. Without going home to pack his suitcase, or even notifying his company, he rushed directly from the conference room to the International, booking the earliest flight to France. Just as he was about to go through security, Brittany, out of breath, ran after him. Marcus! Her eyes were red and swollen, her makeup smeared. Are you really going to abandon me and our baby to go after her? Marcus Glan said at her slightly swollen abdomen, his tone flat. Assistant has arranged a new place for you. You can move there today. Brittany's tears instantly streamed down her face. I don't care where I live. I only care if you still want us. She grabbed Marcus's shirt sleeve, her voice choked. This child is innocent. If Grace truly loved you, she should have embraced our child, instead of causing a scene at Grandpa's birthday and bringing shame to the entire Marcus family. That kind of woman doesn't deserve. Enough. Marcus coldly interrupted her, his eyes as sharp as knives. What right do you have to judge my wife? He shook off Brittany's hand, his voice low and dangerous. I thought you were sensible. Now, it seems you don't understand your place at all. Taking the boarding from the staff member, he said from above, remember, no matter how many children I have outside, Grace will always be my only wife. When you leave take all your things with you. I don't want Grace to be unhappy when she returns and sees your traces. Brittany stood frozen, tears blurring her vision. Suddenly, she let out a desolate laugh. Marcus, you are more naive than I thought. She shouted at his retreating back. You hurt her so deeply, how could she ever come back? People often say women understand women best, but Marcus paid no heed, striding purposefully towards the boarding. In his world, no matter how angry Grace had been these past 7 years, as long as he sincerely apologized and sent some carefully selected gifts, she would always forgive him quickly. Of course, this time she was angry enough to prepare divorce, so ordinary gifts clearly wouldn't be enough. He needed to come up with something even more special to win her heart back. 6 After arriving in France, Marcus didn't rest. He went directly to a famous tattoo studio in Paris. How long will this design take to complete? He showed his phone, displaying a phoenix he had once casually sketched for Grace. The artist looked at it. At least 6 hours, and it will be painful. Start. No anesthesia. 7 hours later, Marcus emerged from the studio, his right shoulder and chest swollen and red, his white shirt stained with seeping blood. He didn't stop, immediately contacting the top local jeweler and florist. I need a 7-carat sapphire ring. I must have it today. Blue, 999 blooms, delivered to this address. Having been without sleep for over 40 consecutive hours, he forced himself through his exhaustion and drove towards the outskirts of Provence. Along the way, he repeatedly rehearsed the scene of their meeting in his mind. Grace, I was wrong. No, too stiff. Grace, I've been thinking about you these past few days. Still not right. Ultimately, he decided that the first thing he would say to her was the simplest, I've missed you. The gates of the lavender estate were open. Marcus walked in, clutching the bouquet, and passed through the purple flower sea. Finally, he found Grace under a grape arbor. However, the sight before him struck him like lightning. Grace was nestled in a strange man's arms, smiling brightly as she tasted grapes he fed her. It was a look of relaxation and happiness Marcus had never seen on her face. They slipped from his hands, making a soft thud. They both turned at the same time and saw Marcus standing there. What are you doing here? Grace's smile vanished instantly. Marcus didn't answer her question. Instead, he stared at the man beside her, his voice hoarse. Who is he? My name is Liam, the man volunteered, protectively wrapping an arm around Grace's shoulders. You must be Marcus? I've seen your pictures. Liam. Marcus frowned in thought, then his eyes suddenly hardened. You're the son of the former Miller family driver? The one who was thrown out. Enough. Grace cut him off. You have no right to speak about Liam like that. Why are you trespassing on private property? This is illegal. Marcus was stunned by Grace's coldness, momentarily forgetting his carefully prepared lines. I came to take you home. Home? Grace scoffed. We're already divorced. Didn't you receive the divorce? I tore those papers up. Marcus stepped forward. I've handled the Brittany situation. She won't bother us anymore. Grace, stop this. Come back with me. He reached out to touch her face, but she evaded his hand. Mr. Marcus, Grace intentionally used the distant address. When the Miller family went bankrupt, only the Marcus family extended a helping hand. For these 7 years of marriage, I have tried my best to repay that kindness. Now is carrying your child, and the Marcus family has an heir. My responsibility is fulfilled. I wish your family happiness. Her tone was so calm, devoid of any ripple, as if she were discussing the weather. Marcus finally realized the gravity of the situation, his face instantly turning pale. No, Grace, you can't do this. Liam stepped forward, placing himself between Grace and Marcus. She has made herself clear. Please leave. What are you to her? Marcus roared. Get out. This is between me and my wife. Ex-wife, Grace calmly corrected him. And is my fiancé. You'd better show him some respect. These words struck Marcus like a heavy hammer, completely shattering his defenses. Fiancé, he repeated in disbelief. You. When did you? We grew up together, we just lost touch in between. Grace leaned against Liam's shoulder. 6 months ago, we reconnected through the Rh-negative blood donor list. Marcus stumbled back a step, as if he had been punched in the chest. Impossible. You can't have moved on that quickly. 7 years, Marcus, Grace's voice finally trembled slightly. I waited for you for 7 years. What did you give me? Lies and betrayal, time after time. 7 Grace, how can you say such things? Marcus's voice trembled with emotion. For these past 7 years, you only stayed by my side to repay kindness? Do you think I'd believe such a clumsy lie? No, of course he wouldn't believe it. If she had no feelings for him, why would she play for a kiss every morning before he left for work? Why, when he was hospitalized with an asthma attack, would she guard his patient with red eyes, refusing to leave no matter who tried to persuade her? She had loved him so much. Loved him to the point where everyone could see her infatuation and dependence on him. But how had he treated that love? The more tolerant and understanding she was, the more he flagrantly trampled on her dignity. He forgot that hearts grow weary. Wound too deeply, over time, even the fiercest love can grow cold. Marcus forced a smile, his eyes bloodshot. Grace, I truly didn't know Brittany would hurt you so much. She and I were just an accident after too much to drink. Keeping her around was purely out of a sense of responsibility. After the baby is born, I'll arrange for her to live abroad, okay? Grace shook her head firmly. Marcus, I don't care what your relationship with Brittany is. You just need to understand that I've started a new life in France and I'm not coming back with you. Please leave. What new life? You. Before he could finish, Marcus suddenly turned pale and swayed. The continuous travel, blood loss from the tattoo, and emotional distress finally took their toll. He blacked out and collapsed to the ground. When he awoke again, it was past 11 at night. A glass of water sat on the bedside table. Mistaking it for Grace's concern, hope surged in Marcus's heart. He endured his physical discomfort and got up to search for her. He followed the stairs to the top-floor balcony, where the sight before him pierced his heart like a sharp blade. Under the moonlight, Grace was nestled in Liam's arms, the two embracing and kissing, a scene of intimacy and tenderness. Marcus felt a sharp pain. He rushed forward and grabbed Liam by the collar. What are you doing? Who gave you permission to touch my wife? Liam chuckled. Ed disdainfully. Your wife. Marcus, did you ever truly cherish Grace as your wife? You. Before could finish, Liam punched him in the face. Marcus, if Grace weren't so soft-hearted, I would have had the security throw you out, you bastard. He pulled Grace closer. Let me tell you, Grace is my fiancée now. No matter how much you pester her, she won't come back to you. Marcus froze, looking at Grace in disbelief. Is he telling the truth? Grace, we've only been apart for less than a month, and you've accepted someone else's proposal? Grace didn't tell him that she had accepted Liam's proposal via video call the day she discovered Brittany was pregnant. Her childhood friend had now become the anchor of her new life. She simply leaned languidly against Liam's shoulder and nodded slightly. Are you insane? Marcus's voice was hoarse. You're still my wife. I never agreed to the divorce. How could you just turn around and be with another man? How dare you do this to me? 8. Do you really think I need your permission? Grace looked Marcus directly in the eyes, her voice calm, almost cold. You always overestimate your place in my life. Let me be clearer, you mean nothing to me anymore. This relationship is over. With that, she turned and linked her arm through Liam's, no longer giving Marcus any attention, as if he had simply vanished into the night. No one noticed when Marcus left, nor did anyone care. But unexpectedly, he didn't return to China. Instead, he rented an apartment not far from the estate, with a view of the lavender. His life became divided into two parts. During the day, he handled Marcus' affairs through video conferences. In the evening, he would appear punctually at the estate gates, holding carefully selected gifts, items from Grace's old wish list that he had mentioned but never delivered. Grace neither responded to his waiting nor altered her daily routine because of his presence. Her 7 years of marriage had taught her the most important lesson. A woman should not twist her life's trajectory to accommodate anyone else. She had her own work, friends, and hobbies, none of which would pause for his appearance. In this vast world, she was only responsible for her own happiness. I assumed Marcus was so persistent because Grandpa, unwilling to lose me as his daughter-in-law, had likely ordered him to bring me home. So I proactively called Grandpa and told him I had a new life and a fiancé. I asked him not to let Marcus waste his time in France out of concern for me. To my surprise, for an entire month after that call, Marcus still appeared punctually every day at the entrance to the lavender estate, just to catch a glimpse of me from afar. Eventually, Liam's patience wore thin. That evening, we had just returned from an art exhibition when we saw Marcus standing under a street lamp in the distance, holding a bouquet of blue, his gaze fixed. As soon as I stepped out of the sports, the night sky suddenly erupted with brilliant fireworks, illuminating the entire lavender estate. Liam had repeatedly watched the video of Marcus's proposal to me. Back then, it was precisely such a fireworks display that had deeply moved my younger self, prompting me to happily accept Marcus's proposal. Seeing my attention captured by the fireworks, Liam's expression instantly turned grim. He strode towards Marcus, and the two men quickly began to scuffle. "What exactly do you want?" Liam roared. "It's been a month. Don't you understand Grace doesn't want you anymore?" Marcus wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and sneered. "You think you know her? We spent 7 years together. If she hadn't lost her fertility due to that accident, I would never have let Brittany keep that child. Grace has simply misunderstood my feelings temporarily, which is why she accepted you as a replacement. Once she calms down, she'll naturally come back to me." Hearing these words, Liam's rage completely erupted, and he knocked Marcus to the ground with a single punch. "Replacement?" He gritted his teeth. "When fell and had a miscarriage, who dropped everything to stay by her side? And you? Where were you?" "Oh, that's right, you were busy touring the Eiffel with your little mistress." I tried to stop the fight, but both men had lost their reason, exchanging blows. Just then, 2 patrolling French police officers passed by. After one of the officers exchanged a glance with Marcus, he immediately got out of their vehicle to break up the conflict. "Gentlemen, stop immediately," the officer said in fluent English. "You all need to go to a hospital for a checkup." He insisted on taking the 3 of us to the nearest urgent clinic, his attitude exceptionally firm. The lights in the hospital hallway were glaring. I had intended to stay in Liam's examination, but the officer, citing the need to take a statement, guided me into Marcus's patient instead. The moment the door closed, it dawned on me, from the fireworks to the police, this was all a meticulously orchestrated script by Marcus. "You're truly resourceful." I leaned against the door, my tone flat. "Hiring fake police and staging a conflict, all just to say a few words to me?" Marcus lay on the patient bed, the pain from his broken ribs making his face pale, yet his eyes remained unwavering. "There was no other way," he said softly. "You wouldn't even look at me." A doctor entered to examine his injuries. As the doctor lifted his hospital gown, I noticed a new tattoo on his right chest, a phoenix with outstretched wings, vibrant in color, with redness and swelling around the wound. It was a design I had casually sketched years ago, when we had just learned we were expecting a child, and eagerly discussed our future. I remembered Marcus mocking the design back then. "It's too feminine, it doesn't suit me." Now it was etched onto his skin, like a belated repentance. While was being taken to another examination room, Marcus struggled to sit up, reaching out to grasp my hand. "Grace, I have to tell you myself, I was wrong. I've thought a lot lately. I betrayed your trust and love. Please give me one chance to make amends for everything." I took a step back, avoiding his touch. Just then, his phone rang. It was Brittany. Marcus glanced at me, then pressed the speaker phone button without hesitation. "Marcus." Brittany's voice was filled with terror. "Yours here with the security. They forcibly brought me to the hospital. They said they're going to terminate my pregnancy. You can't do this to our child." Faced with Brittany's cries, Marcus's expression didn't waver in the slightest, his gaze remaining fixed on my face. Brittany, I've confirmed the truth, you drugged my drink. This child was your scheme from the beginning, it won't be kept. His voice was terrifyingly calm. Also, you hired people to spread rumors on social that Grace was infertile. I've dealt with all of it. The price for harming my wife is this: today's procedure will not use anesthesia, and from now on, you will no longer be able to have children. Brittany's breathing grew ragged on the phone, her voice trembling. Mr. Marcus, I know I was wrong. I just loved you too much. Please spare the child. Don't. Arg. A sharp shriek echoed from the speaker, and I involuntarily winced. Marcus immediately hung up the phone, cautiously observing my reaction. Later, I'll have them send me the surgical records. Once you see the evidence, could you possibly forgive me a little? I looked at him calmly. What you need isn't my forgiveness, it's professional psychological treatment. This hospital's psychiatry department is renowned, you should make an appointment. If that's what you say, he smiled weakly. I'll do whatever you ask. Marcus thought to himself that during their 7 years of marriage, he had hurt me too much, too deeply. But now that he realized his mistakes, he was willing to pay any price to win me back. However, on the third day of his hospitalization, Liam and I held our wedding on the beachfront in Provence. When received the news, he disregarded medical advice and drove to the location. By then, the wedding was already in its final stages. Under the sunlight, I wore a simple yet elegant white wedding gown, and Liam stood beside me in a sharp suit. We exchanged smiles, exchanging rings under the priest's blessing. Marcus stood outside the guest area, separated by a sea of lavender, watching the woman he once loved most become another man's wife. As the wedding ceremony reached the ring exchange, the doors of Grace were suddenly flung open. Marcus stood panting at the entrance, his suit disheveled, his gaze fixed intently on me in my wedding gown. Grace! His voice was hoarse and urgent. You can't marry him. I turned around, calmly looking at this once most familiar stranger. Marcus, you're too late. I've already accepted Liam's proposal. No. Marcus stumbled forward, his knees hitting the red carpet with a thud. We're not divorced yet. I never agreed to the divorce. Please don't marry anyone else. I looked down at him coldly. Marcus, out of respect for Grandpa sending me a wedding gift, I can overlook your rude interruption of the wedding. But please leave, you are not welcome here. Tears streamed from Marcus's eyes. Grace, I truly know I was wrong. If you just give me one last chance, I swear I'll change. I can't imagine life without you. His voice trembled. Since you left, I've thought about you every day. Even in my dreams, I recall your kindness to me. Grace, I love you more than anyone. He completely ignored the whispers of the surrounding guests, expressing his love hoarsely and with all his might. Suddenly, Marcus violently tore open his shirt, revealing the phoenix tattoo on his chest, the wound still seeping blood. You are my phoenix, Grace. I can give you anything you want, just please don't leave me. I let out a soft laugh. Seeing me not only unmoved, but also letting out a soft laugh behind my hand, Marcus froze completely. I calmly gazed into his distraught eyes. Marcus, I have found someone who truly loves me, and whom I love in return. He is my husband, Liam. As for you, even if you were the last man on earth, I wouldn't choose you. Just then, Liam placed a 7-carat sapphire ring on my ring finger. As watched this scene, he felt all the blood in his veins turn to ice. As I took Liam's hand, preparing to leave, Marcus suddenly did something that shocked everyone. He grabbed the silver cake knife, his eyes filled with bloody tears, and shrieked at me, "You're just afraid of being hurt again, but it's okay, I'll tear out my heart for you to see right now." The long knife plunged deep into his chest, and Marcus trembled violently from the pain. Look, Grace, my heart loves you every single moment. Grace, I beg you to turn back, to take one last look at my true feelings. Without looking back, I nestled into Liam's embrace and whispered, "Honey, let's go. It's too noisy here." Liam gently picked me up, and strode quickly out of Grace. He carefully placed me in the passenger seat of the sports, and buckled my seatbelt for me. "Darling, let's elope." "Okay." My eyes curved into crescents, and I leaned happily against Liam's shoulder. As the engine roared, we drove towards our future, leaving everything from the past behind. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section, and we welcome your feedback. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. See you next time.